listening to episode 189 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. Well, on today's podcast, I'm really excited about this one. I feel like I say that a lot, but I really am very excited about this one. Today we are joined by Jordan McCabe from Aztec Diamond. How are you doing, Jordan?
I'm good. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, I'm so excited about this because I've sort of known about your brand for quite a long time, probably since it started. And I mean, what a journey that's been, because you've been around since 2014.
Yes,
and
correct.
you're kind of understated premium. I really like your sort of the marketing of the brand and how you've grown. So as a marketing geek, I cannot wait to get into all of this.
Thank you. It's always nice to hear.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a complete geek here. So can you start by telling us a bit about you and how you kind of found your way to starting an equestrian fashion brand?
Yes. So I started riding when I was seven or eight. My parents broke up and my dad's new partner, her family had a riding school. So my family had no background within horses or in the equestrian sector. But as soon as I started riding, I just fell in love with it. And I found all of my years as a teenager was just constantly at the yard, riding anything I could, mucking out, looking after the horses. I was just obsessed. Then when I was about 9, I got my own pony, but it was under the conditions that I had to work, so I went down before school. I had to go after school to look after it. And ever since a really young age, all I ever wanted to do was have a brand, which sounds so ridiculous, but I actually have files in that cabinet over there, actually, of all of these different drawings of products that I designed when I was about 10 or 12 year old. I mean, they're ridiculous. They are pink, sparkly, purple head collars with hearts all over. But that was where the passion came from. Then through my teenage years, I started show jumping. So I was really lucky. I got into a show jumping yard when I was 14, who I would work at the yard. They would keep my horse on the yard and take me to some shows. So I was really lucky that I had that opportunity. And all the way through my teens, I still had this idea in my head that I wanted to have a brand. And I found a real niche in the market for equestrian clothing that was going to make me feel good, because you always felt really inadequate when you couldn't afford the brands that everybody else was wearing, that performed to what they should do for the sport, but also looked really good and were affordable. So that was where the niche was found. Then when I left school, I went to college to do business and textiles. And a year after doing that course, unfortunately, my grandma passed away. And with the inheritance that my mum got from my grandma passing away, she gave it to me to start the brand.
That's, I mean, obviously horribly sad that your grandma passed away, but it's kind of lovely in another way that she lives on through.
Yeah, and she was she had a shop. She was always into fashion. She was very creative. So I feel like that's where it comes from in me.
I love that. So then you started Aztec Diamond in 2014. What was that like? Because you obviously weren't particularly old at that point, and it's a big old industry. And what was that like?
I think thinking back at the time now, how your mindset changes when you get a little bit older and you understand responsibility and all that sort of thing. I just had no fear, and I had absolutely no doubt that it wasn't not going to work. And I think maybe looking back now, it was a little bit potentially naive, but unfortunately for me, it did pay off. And I think I was just super lucky at the time that when I did launch the brand, there was nothing in the marketplace like it. There was nothing. Everything was super expensive. It was £300 for a pair of breeches, 150 for a shirt. Nobody was also selling directly to the consumer. All of the brands were selling B2B and then to C. So obviously you've got that middleman, which made the prices really high. So before I came into the industry, that didn't really go on. So I'm actually quite proud that now that the brand is launched, the whole industry has revolutionized and it's changed how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Around kind of 2014, there wasn't as much business to consumer. It was a lot more through one outlet.
And Instagram was just on the rise, and I got in at just the right time, and we managed to grow this amazing following because the platform was new and nothing was like that in the industry. So I was super lucky.
So what was your first product and how did you go about creating it? Because again, it's not easy. I know that your products are designed, they're drawn, they're created.
So I have always been really creative, always designed everything myself. And I was quite lucky in the beginning. I got put in touch with a family friend she was actually a product developer for, I think it was baby products, like baby textile, pram interiors and things like that. And she taught me, she worked as a consultant and taught me how to develop product, how to speak to manufacturers. And we had a small collection. We had breeches, a shirt, a hoodie, sweatpants, a show shirt, and the iconic leggings, which Aztec Diamond actually invented in the marketplace. So that was the first collection. And then yeah, just went from there, and I've just learned everything as I've gone.
What was kind of a really high point when you started out? What was there a point when you thought, I'm definitely on the right track, definitely doing what I should be doing? Was there anything that sort of stands out from when you first started?
I think when I first visited the supplier and first saw the product in person, because it's something that I don't know whether this is just as me because I'm a designer, or whether anybody would feel like this, but when you have designed something and then you see it from the paper onto the product, I think feeling that for the first time, that was one of the best highlights anyway on the way.
Do you still get a bit of a buzz from that now? I mean, I know
Yeah.
obviously your range has grown massively, but do you still get that buzz?
Yeah, every time. And it's actually really difficult. I've just this year passed over the designs to some designers in house that we've got now. I've got 2 designers who are fantastic, but for so long I was like this with it. I didn't want to give it to anybody, just because I love doing it so much. But it was taken of, when the product range goes from 6 to 70 that we're at now, it's really difficult to do that and everything else. So I do still get that feeling, yeah, but I've had to give it over a little bit this year, which has been fantastic, but it was hard.
I can imagine. So you said, I think probably before we came on recording, that your mum joined the business
Yeah.
a little while after you started. How does that work? Because like the mother-daughter, that can be a bit tricky, can't it? How does that work?
Yeah, do you know what? I think I've speaking to a lot of other business people who are in business with their family and things like that. A lot of people it doesn't work for, but me and my mum, luckily, touch wood, we don't really argue that much. It's really, we're very differently dynamic people, and I think that's why it works so well. The way that our relationship is kind of a little bit backwards. I'm probably like the mother head, and she's kind of like maybe like the teenager that's a bit irate, but she is we both have different qualities that complement each other, so it works really well.
And do you have different roles within the business as well?
Yeah, so I have just moved up this year into kind of like a CEO role, which I'm just learning as I'm going now. And my mum works on the finance side, paying bills, shipments, that sort of thing. So we have totally different kind of sections.
That's cool. That's good. And how has your business grown? Obviously, in terms of the product range, you've gone from like 6 to 70 plus. How has it worked in terms of your team as well? What was the kind of evolution from where you were in 2014 to where you are now with that?
Yeah, so when we first launched, it was just me and my mum, and had a consultant that I worked with. And then as the business grew within the first 4 years, I only really recruited friends and family. So my stepdad, his sister, my cousin, my best friend from school. So it kind of grew like that. And then it got to the point in 2019 where we thought we need to train everybody to make sure that we have specific roles within the business. And that's, I think when you get to a certain point, you can go a certain way with friends and family, and then you need proper skill sets. So that was an experience as well, and it was fantastic to be able to actually train people.
And how many people do you have working for you now?
We have 15.
Wow. So again, such a great story of not just you creating a brand, but that the kind of employment and the opportunities that provides for others as well. So over the years, your product range has massively diversified. I mean, this year, well, for 2022 now. So last year, there was an amazing advent calendar I want to know all about. But how has the range grown, and what kind of products are you really, really proud of that I appreciate you're proud of everything, because everything has got these different qualities to it. But how do you go about deciding what to add? And then what do you look for in those products?
I think something that has been a real benefit of the way that this business has ran, because we have such a close-knit following on social media, we can listen to customer feedback, and I take it really seriously. So if anybody emails requesting a product or requesting a change or anything like that, we take it on board and we listen to it. So the product range has actually grown from what customers have asked us to do. So I think that's where the general inspiration comes from. There'll be odd products that I think I also design products for what I would like to wear. And I think that's another reason why the brand's gone really well, because I would never try and sell something that I myself wouldn't invest in for the price that it's on for. So if there's a product that I think I would like to wear, or customers suggest it, that's kind of how we grow the range.
Yeah. And you've moved, obviously you had the riding leggings, you had a pair of breeches and a shirt. You've really gone into the colour side as well, but not the,
Yeah.
again, talk us through that, because how do you even choose the colours? Because I mean, I know what I like colour wise, but you've got to
Mhm.
also cater for your customers, haven't you, and what is going to sell.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that was slightly difficult because I'm quite a neutral person. I don't wear a lot of color. It's always toned down. So any color that you do see in the brand will kind of be linked back towards that Bible of who Aztec Diamond is, which is not crazy bright colors. But again, we just look for what colors people ask, and we ask questions on Instagram. What color would you like to see the base layer in? We tally up all of the requests that people have had, and then we act on it.
And when it comes to the materials they're made from, again, we've got a lot of,
Mhm.
I think lockdown has brought out a lot of new businesses,
Yeah.
lots of different people bringing different things to the market, or, some bringing more kind of, I wouldn't say personalized, but I don't mean that, but, printed products. So how do you
Yeah.
really stand out, your points of difference in quite a
Mhm.
busy place?
I think something that's always worked really well for Aztec Diamond, and what we kind of say in house is the normal for us is being the first. So we were the first to invent the riding leggings. We were the first to do the advent calendar. We were the first to sell direct to customers. So we always try to be the first person in the marketplace to do something. And I think that's one way that we've really done well to be able to stand out. But the second thing that I am really passionate about is creating really well designed, well fitting quality products. So it's not just about how a product looks, it has to perform, it has to fit perfect. And sometimes for me, it's not all about how much the product can stand out in a line of products. It's how the product will perform once you've worn that product for 3 months, which is what I'm super passionate about.
And I suppose that way as well, you get people more into the idea of, you don't just look at the cost, you look at like the cost per wear
Mhm.
and how long that's going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
last you. There's a lot about that at the moment when you look at the
yeah,
a price tag, and
yeah.
when you look at a luxury brand versus a cheaper brand. Obviously, I know that it's not always that expensive is better,
Always the case. Yeah.
but it's a really interesting one, and one I've seen a real shift again probably over the last few months, when we're a bit more aware of, or last couple of years actually, more aware about like sustainability,
Yeah,
what we're
100%.
doing, the kind of
Hmm.
throwaway culture.
Hmm.
How does that work with your pricing and your kind of ethos? Because you're definitely not at the full end, well, you're a luxury brand, but in terms of pricing,
Hmm.
you're not, you're kind of above the middle, but not incredibly high. you know
Right at
you
the
know where I'm
top.
going.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really good question because when the brand was initially launched, I wanted to create a brand that was accessible. As I've grown up and I've learned about the development of products, learned about what it costs to run a factory and a business where people are getting paid the right amount, and how you develop a product that is going to be sustainable and going to last a long time. I think that's where price kind of really has to be looked at. And this has been a massive shift within my company in the last few years. And it's something that's kind of been talked about and gone backwards and forwards with, really, because I think my generation especially is very concerned about global warming and the impact. And I think any business owner has a responsibility to do what they can, which is something that I would like to implement as well. And I'm really quite passionate about that. We are trying to be as sustainable as possible. So that is, we don't have single-use plastics on the product. They're all biodegradable. We took all plastic swing tags off. We're trying to use fabrics that are recycled. So all of our leggings and a couple of other productions are fully recycled plastic fabrics. We don't use plastic packaging when it comes over from the supplier. We have everything kind of cartoned off. Loads of different things that we're trying to do to reduce our footprint. And one of the things that I really feel quite passionate about is fast fashion, that how the industry isn't, I don't believe it is. It's what everybody knows. It's not a sustainable industry, and it's not the right way to buy and discard of product. And I didn't want Aztec Diamond to be that brand. So that's where the shifts come in. That I wanted to create sustainable products which do cost more money, but they will last longer. They'll be more durable. I would rather somebody buy one pair of leggings that's going to last them 18 months than have to buy three.
Yeah. And actually, when you work out the cost of three pairs of leggings
Yeah.
versus three pairs of cheap leggings versus one pair of
Hmm.
good ones, the good ones are probably cheaper, aren't they? If you,
Yeah, they are. And I think sometimes it's difficult with an online brand that you can't see and feel the product, because on a website, two pictures can look exactly the same, but you have to feel the product and wear it to realize why the price point is slightly different.
Now, one place where people can see your product is at shows, and
Yes,
you do a show well. The standing
thank you.
is stunning and very different to
Yes.
a lot of stands out there. So how did you come up with that as a concept? Because again, I know you're saying about like being the first
Yeah.
and breaking the mold, but you look at the standing, you're like, oh, that's
Wow.
different. It's got a very different feel to it.
Yeah. I can't even remember where the inspiration from that came from. I remember drawing how I would like the stand to be staggered. And I was thinking, how can we get big rails in, and how can we have light coming down? And then we got the idea of having the truss, and then we just built the rails to hang off the truss, and it looks so impressive when we're at the shows. And again, it's another thing, it's quite hard to replicate. So yeah, I'm glad you picked that out, because we were super proud of how it looks at shows.
Well, it's very like clean and clear and almost like boutique feel, I think. If you look at,
I think that's as Aztec Diamond as a brand, it's very clean, very minimal, and very sharp is the word that I would like to use. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of sort of old Sex and the Cities, where they've got
Yeah, a bit clinical.
But not quite, but those kind of really high end
Yes, I know what you mean.
in
Yeah.
America, I guess, where you don't have
Yeah.
like stacks of each item of clothing. It just reminded me of that. And is it kind of like a real draw to your customers when they come to the shows as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we absolutely love doing the shows. There's nothing quite like the buzz of going and meeting customers and showing them the product and hearing people talk about the product. And, we are quite lucky that the product, don't get me wrong, we get the odd product that is faulty, which anybody does. But our returns are so minimal, and it's so nice to be able to go to the shows and actually speak to people and hear feedback. And it's just a really nice experience. We love doing them.
How many do you do now? I mean, obviously the last couple of years with COVID have been not exactly normal.
Yeah, so we've got quite a big plan for the shows next year. I think we've got 18 planned. We've got a team set up ready to be able to have the capacity to do that. But we just want to meet customers. We want to build relationships. We want customers to feel the product and understand why they should invest in the brand.
I love that. You talked quite a bit about your Instagram following particularly, but you've got a mega social media following. How did that come about? Because it's not easy building a social media following. I know you said you got in at the right time, but it does take a lot of effort, time, energy, and enthusiasm to build a following at all, let alone one the size that you've got. I know obviously it works really well for you from so many different angles. So how did you do that? How did you build that following?
I think it was just persistence. And like I say, it was a little bit of luck that we got in at the right time. But again, something else that we did in the marketplace that was a new thing was the way that we shot content. I like to take horses out of equestrian scenarios and put them in concrete blocks and make really contemporary photo shoots and have the equestrian wear in it. And I think because the marketplace and the industry hadn't seen anything like that, we just got so much organic traffic in the beginning from the style of photo shoots that we did and the way that we actually promoted the product.
Yeah. And where's your biggest audience, or where's your most engaged audience?
Definitely the UK. A couple of years ago, it was nearly edging on to America, actually. And then I think since a lot of things changed with shipping, iOS, all the different technical things that have happened, we've definitely flipped back to the UK now. And that was actually part of the strategy this year, to mainly focus on the UK.
Yeah, has everything to do with, obviously, I know Brexit's caused people a lot of trouble.
God, a headache is what Brexit is.
Has it been quite challenging for you? Because there's so many different aspects of business been affected. Well, obviously we've got the COVID thing with lockdowns and that, you hear of all sorts of things connected to shipping and lorry drivers and everything. Has it been quite hard for you as well?
Yeah, Brexit has been super challenging. I mean, more so for the fact that customers just couldn't order products. So you've got a customer spending £150 with us, which they have done in the past. They're used to buying from us. After Brexit, they get the parcel to customs, and then they have to pay, I think it's something crazy like 45% of the value on top as customs charges with the taxes and duties. So obviously we just can't expect customers to pay that, not when they are used to not having to pay it. So I think most companies from the UK, we have seen a huge drop off from Europe. So we decided to just stop targeting Europe for the time being. And we're actually, at the moment, we're in talks with a couple of big retailers in Europe to try and get some distribution channels just to make it easier for the customer.
Yeah, as you say, you're not the only person I've heard say
Hmm.
similar things, because you're not getting that money. Is it? It's not like you're
Yeah,
adding an
no,
extra bump
not
on it.
like you're
So
profiting on it. Yeah.
it's so difficult because the customer is obviously losing out. You're not
Mhm.
benefiting, but you don't want to deliver a bad service to anybody. But it's
Yeah,
completely out of your control.
yeah, definitely. I think that was the hardest thing because you almost have to, because you respect your customers, you almost have to advise them not to purchase because you don't want them to get hit with those taxes. You don't want them to have to pay 40% extra for the product because you value the product at what you have it online at. So we have been working quite hard recently to try and figure out a way around it. I think the same as everybody, everything Brexit happened so quickly and nobody knew what was going to happen. So I think the first 6 months was kind of everybody waiting around to see if something would change, if there was a deal to be done. Last 6 months of the year, you're busy, you've got Christmas, you've got all these different things. And so I think now for us is just the time where we've sat down and thought we really have to solve this.
Yeah, as you say, at least it's settled a bit, not in a particularly helpful way perhaps, but at least now you know what you're working with. As you say, it was
Yeah.
very much in flux and no one quite knew what the plan was. um but it's really exciting to hear, particularly if anyone's listening from outside of the UK, that there may be some
Yes,
opportunities in the
definitely.
future.
I think keep an eye on our social media because everything will be posted on there. So hopefully we can get a few connections in Europe and just make the product a bit more accessible.
Were you doing quite a bit in Europe pre-Brexit?
Yes, quite significantly more than what we are now, which
Right.
it's totally understandable. It's something that we had to plan for when we knew this was going to happen. We just Nobody knew the extent of it until it came.
And hopefully as well, with shows this year,
Mhm.
people will maybe be coming over more, because in addition to Brexit, people didn't really move around anywhere for, gosh, I don't even know how
Yeah,
long.
nobody needed to, did it? Well, obviously we couldn't because of
Couldn't.
COVID. So yeah,
No, so it was
nobody went anywhere.
it was all of it. um
Yeah.
Now we obviously talked a bit about product, but I'd love to talk a little bit more about, well, the advent calendar and some of the
Yes.
truly innovative different things that you've created. So let's start with the advent calendar, if that's okay. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes. So we came up with the advent calendar concept in, I think it was 2019 when we started talking about that, and we launched the first one in 2020. And it's one of those products. It's just so fun to make because it's not like a technical equestrian product. There's not really any limit on it. We can put in whatever as long as we can ship it to Europe. Anything that we really want, and it's such a creative thing that is generally aimed at teenagers, so we can be a bit more fun with it. It doesn't have to be super minimal, and it's just a really fun product that we love to do.
Did you work with Esme this year?
So Esme always works with us to do the unboxing of it, the official unboxing. So she did that. She's done that for 2 years now.
Oh, excellent. I'm a
Yes.
big Esme fan. She's been on the podcast. She's fab.
Oh, has
Um,
she? She's a really gorgeous girl.
she's lovely. If you're listening, Esme, I'm sure you're living your life, but we like you a lot. Um,
Yeah, she's really lovely. Really, really good to work with as well.
but I'm sure I saw it and I thought, oh, that is such a cool
Mhm.
idea. And again, something quite different. Do you?
Yeah, it's one of those things as well because it's quite a difficult product to create because it's not just one product. We do 12 products inside, so we do the 12 days of Christmas just because horse products we can't fit in a box for 24 because everything's so big.
Yeah.
So we do the 12 days of Christmas and we work. It's quite a long process because we have to develop 13 products including the box, and they go online and they just sell out within a week. And you kind of think,
Yeah.
oh, all of that, and we just sell them straight away. So it's a really great product.
Because I guess again, something like that, you've actually got quite a small time window to sell it, because
Yeah,
Christmas, you've got to think of a number of them that you can do.
yeah.
You don't really want them left over into next year, but it sounds like that number would never be enough, to be honest.
Yeah, like this year we did up them quite significantly, and again it just wasn't enough. But I think they sold out in 2 weeks this time, and I think that's the perfect time to have them.
And you want to create that kind of exclusivity when,
Yes, you do. Yeah, we don't want everybody to. Once the exclusivity goes, the want for them isn't the same anymore.
yeah, too right. Is there anything else that you've sort of brought out that you've thought actually this was really leading the way? Maybe a different feature or something like that.
We've actually just launched a duffel bag, which is kind of like a weekend bag, like a round bag. And you can zip the sides of the bag down and lie your jacket in it flat and then fold it back up at the sides. So it's
Yes.
basically like a jacket carrying bag, and all the fabric on the inside of that is waterproof and wipe clean, so you can put your boots in the inside, and your jacket and your show gear won't get touched. So that's a really, really good product.
That's really clever. I'm sure I've seen that, because I think that, you know, carrying, I understand the obviously the need for jacket bags, because you don't want your show jacket or any other jacket for that reason, that purpose, getting covered in mud. But it is such a faff dragging around a big long.
And they don't get creased either, because they just curve up nicely, and then you put everything else inside. They're really cool.
And when did that? They've launched very recently, haven't they?
Yes, just recently. We actually sold out of the first batch of them in about a week, and then we have another shipment that's literally just gone on Friday. So they're selling really well.
Oh wow, that's really, really cool. I was going to, well, my next question is thinking about your whole business journey. Have you got a standout low? We are going to go high afterwards. So don't think we're going to bring everyone down. But I think it is really...
Always start with the bad.
Yeah, start with the bad. Because I think it is important to share, you know, I know I talk about this kind of thing a lot, but social media particularly makes everything seem shiny and sparkly and marvelous. And I know for a lot of time it is, but I don't know if anybody in business that hasn't had some of those lows where you,
of course,
what has happened?
It's natural, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Have you got one that you would like to share, or probably not like to share, but would share?
Yes, no, of course. I think probably the worst thing that we've gone through is in 2019, we had 9,000 pairs of a new style of leggings delivered, and every single pair had a faulty silicone gripping system on. So we didn't realize that the product had the fault on, because you had to wash the product a couple of times. But once the product had been washed, all of the silicone on the inside of the knee literally just peeled straight off.
Oh, God.
So we'd been out of stock for quite a little while. It had been all of the samples that we'd had in before the production arrived had been absolutely perfect. And then just one batch of the production, which was completely mixed in with all of the rest of them. I think it was about 1,000 leggings that were affected, but in that sense, we didn't know which was which. So they were just all randomly mixed in. And we had sold, I think it was about 1,000 pairs, 1,200 pairs before we realized the issue. And we had to take every single pair of leggings offline. We had to recall all of them. So anybody that had received the product, even if they hadn't sent us a formal complaint, you know, from the honesty that we like to give as a brand, we told all of the customers and give everyone a full refund. But not only did we have 9,000 pairs of leggings that we couldn't sell, we didn't have any leggings that we could sell. So that was quite a tough period.
But I do think, I mean, obviously I can appreciate that's an absolute nightmare, but from a customer point of view, the way that you handled that, to me, I'd be thinking, you know, if I ever have a problem, it's not going to be an issue. You know,
of course.
It's actually, I know it's horrific for you, completely horrific.
I think the worst part about it was that we had 9,000 pairs of leggings that we literally couldn't do anything with. So the whole piece about sustainability and not getting rid of product and all that sort of thing, that was probably the hardest thing I've actually still got most of them sat in the warehouse because I just refuse to throw them out. So we just wear them constantly. Any friends, family, they just have to take them, because I just can't bear to throw them away.
No, as you say, if you're, you know, you obviously do put a lot of thought into the sustainability aspect, and then but then that's, you know, through no fault of yours, but just a really tricky one. But you know, from a customer service point of view, I think obviously the way you handled that was amazing and really positive for the customer, that you did reach out and tell them, rather than think, you know what, we'll just sit tight because it'll be all right.
Carpet, I think as well, we as a business, we pride ourselves on customer service. We have an amazing head of customer service called Megan, who, if you read any review platforms or anything like that, you'll always see reviews about the team. And I think it's just so important, because you can't build customer loyalty. I don't think you can build a brand without being the best, having the best customer service. Because if you do get a product that's faulty, you don't want a customer to keep the product and just say, oh, I'm not going to purchase from them again. You want them to feel like they can approach you and tell you they've got an issue, and you resolve it so that you keep the customer.
Well, every brand has things that go wrong. It's just the way it is. And it's
not the problem itself, it's how you handle it, I think.
Completely. I will happily buy from brands that I've had issues with before if they've dealt with it well, because
of course,
we're all spending our hard-earned money on things, and you don't want the product to be faulty, but if it is, you want to know it can be fixed,
resolved.
And if anything, that makes me want to spend more with them, because I feel like my money's safe with them. You know, I'm doing
that's exactly how you should feel. Approachable.
Yes, absolutely. And now going up to a high, Have you got any kind of real highs that stick out, your proudest moment, anything like that?
Yeah, I think the one that would always come to my mind is in 2020, I was featured on the Forbes 30 under 30 list. So that was probably the best day of my life.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I just, it's just something that you would always dream of. And I got sent the application. I'd won an award for Barclays, which was also a huge national award for Entrepreneur of the Year in 2019. And they had put me forward for the Forbes 30 under 30. And I remember filling the application in and, thinking, oh, don't have a chance, but might as well try. And then they don't give you any warning. They just release the list. And people just started sending me it in the morning. It was just so overwhelming.
Oh, wow. So you didn't even know?
Yeah, I didn't even know.
Oh, wow. That's incredible though. And
yeah, that was a big achievement. I think will definitely stay with me forever, that one.
Definitely. Is there any sort of lessons that you've learned along this exciting Aztec Diamond journey so far? Obviously, you've got loads more to go anyway, because I can see the brand
always stuff to learn
and growing. But is there anything that sort of stuck out for you so far? If anyone said to you, could you give me any tips for being in business, starting my own business? What kind of things have really helped you?
Discipline, I think, is the main thing. I don't know whether this has come from when I was younger, but the fact that I had to work to keep my horses or anything like that. But as a person, I'm really disciplined. If there's something to do, I will get it done. I'm quite relentless like that. So I think that's the thing. If you do want to start your business, you have got to understand that you do have to put work in.
Yeah.
And the second thing that I would say is training for staff is the most valuable thing you can do.
Amazing. So in terms of like product training, customer service training, everything you can do.
Whatever somebody has in their role, learning always helps. And yourself, always keep learning.
I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can share with us that's coming next from Aztec Diamond that we can keep our eyes open for?
Oh, yes, this is a good one. So we've had a story that we've been following slightly on Instagram for quite a while now, and it's got quite a lot of traction. So every time we put a post on about it, it gets massive organic reach. But I for years have been wanting to develop a show jacket. Now, a show jacket is an extremely technical product. It's not like it is a sports product, but it's also because it's a tailored piece, it's totally different to design in sportswear. So I've had to learn quite a lot to be able to develop this product, and we finally placed the order for the show jacket. So that is a super exciting product that is going to be coming soon.
When are we expecting that to arrive?
I'm hoping beginning of April.
Oh, not long.
If everything goes to plan.
That is
which it usually doesn't, so we'll see.
Around that time, but that's
around that time, somewhere around there.
And that's the first piece of that nature that you've done.
Yes, it is. And it's, we've spent so much time getting it right. So I'm really excited for this one.
Oh, definitely. And my last question, before I ask if there's anything else you would like to share, and I ask you all the places we can find you online, is the name, which probably should have been the first question I asked. Aztec Diamond. Where does that name come from?
So Aztec Diamond was my horse when I was a teenager.
I love that as well. So it's your grandmother really helped you start the journey, and your horse is woven into everything that you do. I love that.
Yeah, she was amazing. She was 16, won warm blood. So I used to show jump with her. She was I think she was 12 when I got her. I had her for 6-7 years, and she was just amazing. I didn't jump. We jumped up to newcomers, Fox Hunter level, so nothing crazy, just a hobby. But she was the best. She unfortunately got put down in 2016, I think it was. So God. She lives on.
You're very much so. Do you still ride much now, or are you just very busy with everything else?
Well, do you know what? For quite a few years, after Diamond passed away, I gave it up completely, and it's not anything to do with the fact that I didn't like it anymore. I just didn't. I think the type of person I am, and because I really loved competing, I didn't want to have a horse that I didn't compete with.
Sure.
And just running a business, it's just so busy, and as well, cash flow. When I first had the business, you just can't afford to have a horse on full livery for £200 a week. So it was something that I, consciously made the decision to say it's not the right time. And then every year I keep saying, I might get a horse again this year, and it just doesn't happen. So I think at some point I will, for sure, but I don't think it's yet. I ride every couple of weeks with a friend's horse, so
That's good though.
I'm
So
still involved, but yeah, I haven't totally forgotten.
no, not at all. Well, it's been amazing to chat to you. Is there anything else you'd like to share before I ask you all the places where we can find you online, just in case anyone doesn't know?
No, I don't think so. I just think if anybody wants to check out our product, the website is aztecdiamondequestrian.com, and we have the same name on Instagram.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Jordan. It's been an
Thanks for
absolute
having me.
joy. Take care.